Great job, guys. Thank you all for being here today to honor the life of a very, very special man, Jay Howard. Very good to be with you all today. And for the first thing to begin today, I'm going to say the Shema to bring us all in together. If everyone would please rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam Vayed. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Blessed is the name of his glorious kingdom for all eternity. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And have these words, which I command you this day, be upon your heart. And you shall teach them diligently to your children, and speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you retire, and when you arise. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and let them be frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Next, we're going to go into congregational dances led by Rebecca Crouch.
So anyone who'd like to join us, we're just going to do a circle around the room to 3 songs. This first one is extra special because it features Rabbi Jay in it with his daughter Hannah. So we'll enjoy getting to hear him and see him playing the banjo. It's called Refine Me, written by Hannah. And we're going to step to the right together, and then step to the left together, do a trichosia forward and back, then 2 mayams to the left, over, side, behind, side, and again, over, side, behind, side, and then you'll reach in with your right hand and your right foot, pivot on your left foot and step back, and reach out with your right hand and right foot.
That's really beautiful. Thank you, Mama. Next up, we're going to have a eulogy by Mark Mingus. So Mark, please come up.
Good morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Mingus. I am Jay's nephew on the Howard side of the family from Arizona. Got to excuse the shaking, the nervousness, the sadness, everything. So just bear with me as I make it through this. First of all, when I was asked to read Uncle Jay's eulogy, struck me not only as an honor, but it was deeply humbling. I see a lot of beautiful faces in the crowd, from near and far. Mostly I see Jay's legacy in front of me, and all of his children and his grandchildren. And to me, it's one of Jay's biggest legacies is all of you. I want to do a story. J. Hoyt Howard, born John Otto Utzinger on August 18th, 1956, in Ray, Arizona, was adopted in 1958 by Ray Howard, who became both his father and mentor in life and work. Jay spent his early years on ranches throughout northern and eastern Arizona, where his lifelong love of ranching began. He started riding at just 2 years old on an old gelding named Killer. Jay worked alongside and learned from his father, Raymond Howard, on ranches from Flagstaff, Arizona to Morenci, Arizona. The ranches included, but were not limited to, the Flying M Ranch along I-40, the Stray Horse Ranch south of Alpine, and the Double Circles and N.O. Bar Ranch along Upper Eagle Creek north of Morenci, Arizona. During his high school years, when he wasn't rodeoing, he would take the fall off to help his father work on the ranches. Alongside Raymond, he registered their Backwards RC brand in 2 states. Known for his quiet, steady approach, Jay never relied on dogs or hot shots. Instead, he called his cattle from pasture to pasture. His cattle trusted him, and Jay understood the importance of developing that trust. Uncle Jay was not only passionate about managing cattle, brands, and operations with skill and dedication, he was proud to pass along the legacy and knowledge to his family. Jay was proud to be raised by Raymond and passionate about telling his stories with him and keeping Raymond's legacy alive. As Jay would say, his dad was a hardcore cowman that was one of the best. Uncle Jay turned into an incredible cowman himself. Beyond ranching and cows, Jay was a man of many talents. Jay loved trapping, fishing, and rodeo. He was also deeply artistic, expressing himself through jewelry making, pencil drawing, silversmithing, calligraphy, and rope braiding. In 1984, Jay moved to Phoenix, Arizona, where he worked building homes. It was there that he met the love of his life, Vicky, with whom he was extremely fortunate to share 41 years of beautiful marriage. They later moved to Flagstaff, Arizona, where they began raising their family. After the birth of their first son, they were blessed with 2 daughters. In 1994, Jay and his family moved to Bayfield, Colorado, where they purchased a small ranch. There, he built a respected operation raising Charolais cattle and producing grass-fed beef known throughout the community. Their family continued to grow with the birth of 2 more sons in 1996 and the year 2000. Jay's love of music became another important part of his life. He learned to play guitar and clawhammer banjo, and from 2001 to 2007, he traveled the country with Vicky and their 5 children, performing as a family bluegrass gospel band. In 2007, Jay, together with his wife and children, founded Joy in the Messiah, a Messianic synagogue in Bayfield. He was ordained as a pastor in 2009, and later as a rabbi in 2013 through an Israeli ordination in partnership with the Shimbi community. In 2017, he traveled to Israel to bring back a Torah scroll that had survived the Holocaust, an item he cherished deeply. Jay learned to read and write biblical Hebrew and faithfully read from the Torah each Saturday. For over 20 years, Jay found great joy in teaching the Word of God and building relationships within his community. He also began hosting public Passover celebrations in 2007. And through dedication and faith, helped transform a former brewery into a thriving Messianic synagogue serving the Four Corners region. Above all, Jay's greatest love was his wife, his children, his grandchildren, and God. He is preceded in death by his parents, Ray and Betty Howard, his sister, Christy Howard, and his son, Samuel Howard Utzinger. Jay is survived by his loving wife, Vicki Howard, his 5 children, Max Howard, Hannah Johnson, Sophie Owen, Ray Howard, and Melanie Martineau, his nephew, Mark Mingus, and his 15 grandchildren. When they asked me to do this, they said I could add or change a little bit, and I have throughout that. But I just wanted to close with this. Jay. A high country cowman. High in the pines of eastern Arizona to the southern end of the snow-capped Rockies. Rides a cowman born to the wind and the thunder, but never enough rain. With dust on his boots and stars in his veins, he wakes before dawn when the frost still clings to the needles of Ponderosa, tall and serene. His coffee is black as the trail he rides, and his heart beats steady and full of pride. He loves the adventure that calls from the ridges. The wild cow country where few dare to roam. Through canyons of shadow and meadows of gold, he chases the horizon, never afraid to keep riding on. His cattle are sacred, each a gift from above. Colored hides like embers that glow in the sun. He moves them quiet, steady, and patiently from the rugged country few will ever know, protecting each calf as if it were his own. But deepest, his love for the family that waits in the cabin of logs at the end of each day. His wife and his children, their laughter that warms like fire. Nothing compares. There's no greater fuel for this man's fire. They gather at twilight when supper is steaming. Stories of trails and legends who came before. He hangs up his hat and lays down his old saddle. And thanks the good Lord for the life he adores. For he is the mountain, the herd, and the home. A man forged from the epic of life, always chasing freedom, and always trying to love more. From the rim rock at dawn to the last pale light in the west, old Uncle Jay will continue to ride on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We'll now have some reflections and remembrances by Jay's family, beginning with Ray Howard.
Thank you all for coming today. Today we're here to remember Jay Howard, a loving father, husband, grandfather, and uncle. I just want to say thank you, Dad. Thank you for the laughs. Thank you for the good times and the hard times. Thank you for the lessons that you shared. Thank you for all the stories that you told. Thank you for providing for Mom and my siblings over the years. Thank you for everything that you taught me. And most importantly, thank you for being such a great father. I love you so much, Dad. I wish I had more time with you, but I'm so grateful for the time we got to spend together. I'm so grateful for you and for the love you gave. Tell Sam hi for me. I'll see you both again someday. For you, it'll feel like a second. For me, it'll be a lifetime. Rest easy, Dad. I love you.
Next, Sophie Owen.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm Jay's third-born daughter and his fourth child. That day that it happened, I was the second one there with Mom, and he had already passed when I got there, and I cussed out a cop and almost beat up a cop. Probably should have got arrested that day. And I was like, I'm going in the ambulance and I'm seeing my dad. And I pushed in. They were like, just let her go, let her go. So I ran in and I was telling Dad how much we all love him. And I was like, you can't go out like this. I love you. I love you. We're here. And then one of the EMTs rushed me out of the ambulance and she was like, you got to get out. You got to get out. I went over to Mom and Mom was like, what's happening? And I said, well, I don't know. And then one of the EMTs came up and she said, his heart started beating again and he's breathing on his own. And I want Mom and I to hold on to that moment because he knew we were there. And he knew we were there. And he knew we loved him, Mom. Anyhow, sorry. I should have made this writing bigger. Sorry. We were created to stand up for what's right, what's pure, holy, and always speak the truth. We are not created to judge. God did not give us that power. That is his alone. But God gave us something more, so much more, and so much harder than that. God gave us the power to forgive and the power to love people through their storm. Dad had a very hard life. Mark touched on some of it. From a very young age, starting at the age of 2, when he got his first horse named Killer. His life was filled with working 66,000-acre ranches, being beat up and bullied throughout school, childhood trauma, pain, followed by very lonely days. He lived a very rough and scary, very real cowboy life. He was one of the very few that the title cowboy refers to. And whenever I hear that title, that is who I will always think of. He lived a life most of us will never even begin to imagine. However, he met my mom, and my mom filled his life with love and joy that Dad so desperately needed. Mom calls Dad her hero, but Mom, you were his. He loved you so much, even though he hid his cannons from you. I don't know if you noticed them, they're kind of small. You were each other's soulmates. There is no doubt about that. And Mom, you were one heck of a mom to us kids, so do never, ever doubt that. He didn't talk much about everything he'd been through, nor did he let many people in. He didn't tell many people his worries, his pain, or his stresses that he struggled with, but the few of you that he did let in, thank you. He trusted you, and he didn't trust many people. So thank you for being a true friend of Dad's. Dad was a fighter, and when life would get hard, we would feel no way out. He would always say to us, you guys, there's a better day coming. He always wanted us kids to see the best and fight for the better day. But in the end, Dad gave up on finding his better day, and that breaks my heart. However, Dad's life was also filled with a lot of joy, laughter, and a lot of good times. And that's what I remember most about my dad. Hold on. I think I messed this up. Oh no, wait, where am I? Sorry. Dad loved God with everything in his body. And I remember Dad praying all the time. Dad was never lazy, always working to provide no matter what. Dad was always a hard worker and always a go-getter. He instilled in us kids a work ethic like no other. Sam had it probably the most. He taught us to be a man of our word, to do the job right the first time, and if we didn't, he'd have us do it again till we got it right. He taught us how to be strong. He taught us to have adventure, like living in a teepee while he and Mom built the ranch house, camping and hiking, crazy sail barn stories, long road trips playing music with the family band, starting a church here in Bayfield. He taught us how to show up for people when they needed us, how to love, to always have a willingness to learn something new. And most of all, his life taught me the power of forgiveness, the courage to keep going, and the willpower to never give up. So thank you, Dad. You've taught me more than you'll ever know, and I'm so sorry that I never took the moment to step out of my own self just for a minute and really look at all the life lessons that you taught me until I was forced to write this. Dad's whole life is such a testimony to everybody in this room, a testimony of strength, pain, brokenness, love, ups and downs, trusting God, having faith, and forgiveness. Dad touched so many people throughout his entire life, and his life will continue to touch lives forever. And it's our job now to be Dad's voice and keep his story going. Oh, we love you, Dad. His story gives me a powerful outlook on life. Dad was so full of love and life, and he wanted everyone to find their joy. We have to remember that with the hand life deals everyone. Everyone has a story. Everyone has shame. Everyone has regrets. And everyone has a storm. Everyone is given the power of hope, though. And it's what you're going to do with that and how you're going to make it out. And not feeling ashamed for seeking help or not being embarrassed to open up to people and share your struggles with someone you trust. And then taking the steps needed to make sure you become a survivor of the hard life that was dealt to you. So please, do not die a victim to your pain, but live as a survivor. A very respected lady told me once, Sophie, many people say that suicide is a very selfish thing. And she said, but it's not. If you are selfish, you will take your money, leave, head out of town, not look back. She said, but suicide is a very sad, self-focused act to where the enemy uses their love for everyone else and their story to end their own life, with voices saying things such as, you're a horrible dad. You're not a good father. Everyone would be better off without you. Look at the pain you've caused. You're such a mess. Just set everyone free. And so on and so on. I mean, a lot of us in this room have probably heard those thoughts before. But that's where these Bible verses come in. 2 Corinthians 10:5, take every thought captive. And Psalms 46:10, be still and know that I am God. That's one of my favorite verses. Sam and I talked a lot about that one. If you hear those voices, take a minute and just be still and listen for God and know that you are enough. You are important. You are created for a purpose and you are loved. And no one on the face of this planet is better off without you here. But I want to mention how much I'll miss him. I will miss his laugh, his burritos, his jokes that half the time didn't make sense and none of us got. But we laughed anyways because he would start cracking up and his laugh made us laugh because he thought his jokes were so funny. And how much he and Micah would tease each other from day one with white shorts and shooting guns and getting stuck in the fence. But Dad did say, he said, he's a good man, don't let him go. Then I came to learn that he and Sam would probably have paid me to marry you or disowned me as a daughter and a sister if I didn't. Seeing him as a papo, he loved his grandkids without a doubt and spoiled the heck out of them. We as kids learned to swim in a pond, climbing over the oak brush, getting through the mud. But when I told him I was pregnant with TT, what did he do? He turned the pond into a little oasis. He put sand. He got these giant stones. He put a fancy rope handrail going down into the water. And I was teasing him about it. I was like, thanks, Dad. And he was like, my grandkids can't be climbing over trees and crawdads just to get to the water. It's like, we did. But this was never supposed to happen. And just like Sam, Dad and I made plans for the future. I said, good night, Dad. I love you. See you Friday. And then the next morning, our life changed forever. I changed forever. And all I can say is that was never the answer. Talia asked me to read a verse for Papo. Luke 24:6. He is not here. He has risen. And I'll end with my favorite verse, Hebrews 12:1. Therefore, let us also, seeing we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, lay aside every weight and sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. I love you forever, Dad. Give Sammy a hug for me and save me a seat.
Thank you, Sophie. Now, Hannah Johnson.
I'm not Hannah Johnson. I'm Micah Owen. Sorry, that was incredible. You got me, Sophie. For those that don't know me, I am Micah Owen, and I am the husband of Sophie and the son-in-law of Jay Howard. I had the privilege of being part of the family for many years, and I'm grateful for the time that I got to know him. The first time I met Jay was about 15 years ago. I was 20, and I already knew that I was in love with his beautiful daughter. That was Sophie, by the way. I had just met Sophie for the first time the night before, and she said if I wanted to keep kissing her, I had to meet her dad. Well, I said, deal. I made my family come with me, and we drove out and out and out and out to the Howard Ranch. I remember my sister and I made eye contact on the way out there because we thought it felt like forever. And she gave me the, are you sure eyes? But I was sure. I was sure. Then we got to this driveway gate. We plugged in the code, and we made it in time for dinner. Everyone was very nice and greeted us all with warmth and curiosity. Who was this guy that Sophie has been talking to every day for the last 9 months? Then Jay said, Micah, come here. I want to show you something. Oh, great, I thought. See, at the time, I was living in West Virginia. And back there, if you were to date a West Virginia girl, the dad wanted to show you what his gun looked like. Well, not Jay. I followed Jay behind this shop where he had this giant cannon. I don't mean a cannon like in the 1990s, oh, I'm out of film cannon. I mean a cannon like Captain Blackbeard on the pirate ship cannon. Jay said, you see this cannon, Micah? I said, yeah, I see it. He said, it can shoot pretty far. I said, uh-huh. Jay went on, as a matter of fact, when I shoot it, it could reach all the way to that very driveway gate that you just drove in through. I said, pretty impressive cannon, Mr. J. Fast forward 15 years, I have 2 beautiful daughters, and I fully understand that I am in need of 2 cannons. A lot of you did not see the burial this morning, but Jay asked for a pine casket. David Loki did an incredible job building it. Thank you, David. Well, on Thursday night, the kiddos got to write Jay a final goodbye on his casket. It was pretty neat, and it sparked a curiosity in me. Since they won't be giving speeches today, I asked all of the kiddos the question, what would you say to Papo if you had one more chance to tell him something? From oldest to youngest, the kids responded as follows. Talia, 8 years old, said, I loved your treasures and that you were my grandpa. Aria, 8, said, you are the best grandpa ever. I want to ride your four-wheeler again. I wish you were still alive so we could spend more time with you. Levi. Levi, 7, said, I'm glad I got to drive tractors with you, Papo. Davian, 7, said, you were a really cool grandpa, and I really love you. Sorry. Mira, 6, said, I love you. I wish you were still alive because you were the best grandpa ever. I hope you can come to our house again, Papo. Olive, 5, said, I love you, birthday buddy. They shared a birthday. Nevea, 5, said, hi, Papo. I'm going to go to school. I get to be with Talia and Dee and Dad. Noah, 4, said, dear Papo, I love you so much, and I miss you. Jackson, 3, said, let's go drive a tractor, Papo. Let's ride the side-by-side. Liam, 3, said, Papo, you were so fun. Toby, 2, said, Papo. Out of the mouths of babes. No. Jay loved his family. He loved his ranch, his cows, and God. Like all of us, he was a complicated person. None of us are just one thing in this life, though. But there were different parts of him that mattered deeply to the people who loved him. He was a rancher, a rabbi, a teacher, an online shopper, a professional collector, a storyteller, a father, a grandfather, and a husband. One of the most important of these things to me was the part as a father, because he, along with Vicky, brought 5 of some of my favorite people into this world. Max, Hannah, Ray, Sophie, and Sam. And for that, I'll always be thankful to him. None of us leave this world perfect, but what remains here are the relationships we had, and the love that continues through the people. I want to take a minute to encourage Vicky, to encourage this family, to encourage Jay's congregation, to encourage this community, and to encourage the people in this room, this full room. I want to declare in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, that this is enough. There has been enough death and enough sadness. Jay and Sam are no longer with us on this earth anymore, and that breaks most of us in this room. But I am claiming this for myself, for my wife, for our children, for this family, that this, what happened again, is our wake-up call. It is not our calling. We are now the survivors. We're the survivors that are going to press on, to continue to show light and hope and courage for ourselves and for the ones we come across. I know with absolute certainty that Jay would want us to, and Sam would want us to. Psalm 91 has a strong claim, a battle cry, if you will. I would like us all to recite this psalm together as a declaration. I passed out half sheets of paper. Please grab those and everyone stand with me. And if you feel so led, please join us in reading this song. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. We will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, our God in whom we trust. Surely He will save us from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover us with His feathers, and under His wings we will find refuge. His faithfulness will be our shield and rampart. We will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at our side, 10,000 at our right hand, but it will not come near us. We will only observe with our eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. If we say, the Lord is my refuge, and we make the Most High our dwelling, no harm will overtake us. No disaster will come near our tent, for He will command His angels concerning us to guard us in all our ways. They will lift us up in their hands so that we will not strike our foot against a stone. We will tread on the lion and the cobra. We will trample the great lion and the serpent. Because they love me, says the Lord, I will rescue them. I will protect them, for they acknowledge my name. They will call on me, and I will answer them. I will be with them in trouble. I will deliver them and honor them. With long life, I will satisfy them and show them my salvation. Thank you all for joining me on that. You can have a seat. Please, everyone, remember that today we honor the life of Jay Howard. We grieve, we hold each other a little closer, but we'll continue to fly.
Thank you so much, Micah. Next, Max Howard. Anna Howard. I'm sorry.
Wow. Thank you all so much for coming. It means so much to my family and I that you all came here today to honor my dad and show your support for our family. I'm not really sure how to say what I need to say about someone I've known my whole life, and I don't know how to say goodbye to him. Dad was one of my best friends. Sorry. So I'm just gonna try to start from the beginning, and I have some good stories. Thank you. I was born to my mom and dad in 1989 in Flagstaff, Arizona. Some of my earliest memories of my dad were of him helping me get to sleep. Mom was busy with the new baby, Sophie. So night after night, Dad would beckon to my cries of "Rubba Dada" and faithfully bend over my crib and rub my back so that I could fall asleep. Being a parent, I now know the excruciating back pain of bending over a crib just to get your little one to sleep. And God forbid the floor ever creaked when he walked out, or he would have to start all over again. But from then on, my dad and I shared a special bond. Moving to Colorado, where he bought us a farm to grow up on, is one of the most amazing things he did for us. That 131 acres became our playground. The 5 of us kids went all over that land. Dad taught us so much. He taught us how to care for animals, how to work cattle, irrigate, feed, hay, butcher, shoot, ride horses, and how to work as hard as you possibly could. We were raised on organic grass-fed beef that made me a beef snob, organic goat's milk, fresh eggs, and organic vegetables from our garden. Dad fully supported my mom's desire to homeschool because he was picked on so much throughout public school.
Dad and Mom gave us an amazing childhood full of creativity, laughter, adventures, and above all, a deep bond and love for one another. And I love my siblings so much. Our family breakfasts and dinner tables became the center of laughter and deep family talks. Our family meals together are some of my favorite memories. I especially enjoyed our family Erev Shabbat dinners. My dad grew up on cereal for breakfast every morning because he always had to catch the school bus. He never wanted that for us, and so every single morning he cooked us a full breakfast made from scratch of scrambled eggs, hash browns, bacon, toast, and sometimes we were lucky and got his famous breakfast burritos. My dad taught me how to cook. He would cook and talk and talk and cook and cook and talk. And by watching him and listening, I would learn his secret recipes that have now become a staple in my own household. I remember as a little girl just standing warming myself at our wood cook stove watching as he cooked the scrambled eggs just right. And you never put anything on a cold plate. My dad was also very opinionated about food. As some of you might know, he had an ongoing war with black beans. They were called the counterfeit bean. You only ate pinto beans, the one true bean. I love to give him a hard time about the black bean subject. One time when I was little, we had a cow die right after she had a little calf. I asked Dad if I could keep the calf and bottle feed it, to which he said no because it was a doggy and they never grew up to be big enough to keep. I told him that I would feed the calf enough so that she would be big enough to keep. He said we would have to sell her, it wouldn't work. I begged and he finally agreed to let me keep her until we needed to sell her. Well, I accepted the challenge of making sure that calf was very big and as fat as I could make her. I fed that calf and fed that calf. I fed her 2 gallons of goat's milk a day, plus I had my dad drive me all the way to Center, Colorado, just to pick up the best calf formula around. I named her Cowgirl, and everyone loved her. And guess what? We kept her, and she gave my dad many calves throughout the years, and she became a very large cow. I love to tell my dad how good of a cow she turned out to be. My dad loved to do things with his kids. He loved his kids so much. He took us camping and fishing. We went on our pontoon boat, often down at Navajo Lake, catching salmon with our trolling motor and large fishing poles. We always needed him to help us reel in the fish. He had a special island down there he would take us to camp. I remember one time we lost all the fish we caught off our boat, so my dad fed us potatoes for dinner. Our family moved from one adventure to another, and as my mom put us kids into music lessons, my dad sold our pontoon boat so that he could buy us all top-of-the-line instruments. He took us all down to the music store in Durango, then called Canyon Music, and we each picked out an instrument. He bought me my first fiddle and my Gibson guitar that I still play on today. Although he'd never played before, he learned how to play the guitar and the clawhammer banjo, one of my favorite sounds. Later in life, I asked him to pick up the banjo again and play on one of my recent songs, Refine Me. I loved his banjo playing so much. It was one of my favorite sounds from my childhood. I was very fortunate to be able to go with my dad on both his trips to Israel. The first one to purchase our Torah scroll. And the second was when my husband and I had just gotten engaged and we wanted to buy our wedding rings over there. We invited Dad to go with us, and he was ecstatic about that trip. I have a fun story about getting over there. My dad really liked backpacks with a lot of compartments, and he would fill every single compartment with something. He always had something for just in case. Well, while going through security in Denver International Airport, his bag was asked to be taken aside to be searched. But he had every zipper on every compartment tied up in tiny little knots. The lady had to untie every single knot, ended up asking us for help to empty out his bag, and she was not happy. Dad was stressed about missing the plane. And when she found out what was setting the alarm off, I think I just looked at my dad in just kind of wonder. She emptied out tons of ancient Israeli coins and shekels. He was bringing them with him to use as his money in Israel. I'm not sure where he got them all, but the first restaurant we went to in Israel, Dad was talking to the waiter about where we were from and how we got here. He loved to talk to people, he loved to make new friends. And he was just talking, being my dad. The waiter wasn't paying much attention to my dad and took his order. And then when it came time to pay, Dad brought out some of his ancient Israeli coins. The waiter looked at Dad, looked at the coins, looked at Dad, and said, "Where did you say you were from? Who are you?" Dad couldn't use any of the coins to pay for anything, but he did make another friend that day. We shared a very special time with Dad in Israel, and he was with my husband and I when we bought our wedding rings in Jerusalem. While there, we got to know his very dear friend, Dror Osri, who I'm sure a lot of you have heard about. He is also mourning the loss of my dad, and he gave me something to say today. Dror Osri says, "Jay was a pure soul who loved Israel and carried the pain and wanted to fight for Israel and the people. He had a hard but beautiful life. He was very passionate, feeling for the community, family, and Israel. He was a hardworking, honest, loving soul for the family and for us, always carrying the whole world on his shoulders." And that was from Dror. My dad taught me so much. He taught me about the Torah. He raised me to be a hard worker. He raised me to love God and take care of my family. He taught me how to enjoy the simple things in life, like a good cup of coffee or just chatting in the afternoon over a cold Modelo. When times would get tough, he would always say to me, "There's a better day coming, Hannah." He was always worrying about me and still trying to take care of me. He'd often bring me some of his burritos or some random vitamins. He especially loved to give me raw cow's milk, his favorite drink of choice. He was always looking out for me, and I never doubted his love for me. My dad didn't like conflict or drama. He liked watering his plants, petting his cows, irrigating his fields, and reading up on current events in Israel. My dad worked hard his entire life, and he was a real cowboy. Dad lived an amazing life, but also walked through some things in life that most of us would not survive. I don't know of anyone else who could have lived the life my dad lived and go through all that he went through and be as strong as he was for his whole life. I don't know of any other woman who has walked the road my mom has walked and be as strong as her. My mom and dad are the strongest people I know. My dad was a good man, a good dad, and a wonderful, amazing papo. And I will speak highly of him for the rest of my life. I love you so much, Dad, and I am so sad about all the memories that are left unmade, the words left unsaid, and all of the hugs that were meant to give. My daughter Noah says she will miss your colorful shirts and how you called her Noah Doodle Doos. I will just miss you so much, Dad. And to the people of Shimby, thank you for being some of my dad's closest friends and for being loyal to him. He loved you, and we will stay here, and we will stay strong and keep going for God. And I wanted to read a little bit about something we all just need to be careful about. Lashon hara, Hebrew for evil tongue. This is a Jewish legal term for true yet derogatory speech that harms others or social cohesion. As a severe, often irreversible sin, it is deemed equivalent to murder and prohibited in all forms. Verbal, written, and body language, it is rarely permitted, requiring strict constructive conditions. The consequences and ethical implications: irreparable harm, often likened to murder. It destroys reputations in ways that apologies cannot fix. Social and religious impact: it causes severe harm to social cohesions and is believed to cause significant spiritual damage to both the speaker and the listener. Destruction: traditionally, it is associated with the destruction of the Second Temple. prohibition. It is forbidden, even if the information is true. So I ask all of us today, if you hear something, will it stop with you? Ask yourself, is it necessary for me to hear this? Is it necessary for you to repeat what you've heard? Romans 3:10, there is no one righteous, no, not one. In the Shema, it says to love your neighbor as yourself. Even Yeshua said, he who is without sin cast the first stone. Now, more than ever, we need to move forward in love, compassion, and forgiveness toward one another. My dad is at peace now, and his reward is great because he was a good and faithful servant. I would like you all to stand and join me in Amazing Grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Now Kyle Johnson.
We feel the loss of our dad deeply. He was shaped by the ranches of Arizona, by hard work, consistency, and a way of life that stayed with him. And here in the synagogue, he led the people the best he could. He served the people and taught the Maker's ways. I want to be brief and concise with a simple commitment. My children will know their Papo. They'll know where he came from. And they'll know how he lived. And they'll learn how to ranch. And they will know what he taught here. What he passed down will not stop with him. My young children may not remember him, but they will know. His amazing life will continue. We love you, Dad.
Thank you, Kyle. And now Max Howard.
One of the earliest memories I have of Dad was when I was around 6 years old. We were living in Flagstaff, Arizona, and Dad had this really cool CJ Jeep. It was orange, lifted, big tires, had a black soft top. And I remember thinking this Jeep was the biggest, coolest vehicle in the world. It was like a monster truck to a 6-year-old boy. I also remember thinking this Jeep would look way better if it was black. Well, it just so happened Dad, he had a can of black spray paint in the barn, and I found it. And that was the first vehicle I'd ever painted, so it didn't turn out very good. I also didn't make it very far before I ran out of paint. I remember trying to hold the can and squeeze that little button down and wondering why all the paint was just running and dripping down the side. The biggest point of that story is when Dad found out and saw his new black and orange spotted Jeep. He didn't get mad. I could tell he was very disappointed and unhappy, but he didn't get mad at me. And we continued to laugh about that day throughout the years. With that, he taught me to have patience and try to remain calm when it's difficult to do so. I remember when he bought this ranch up here in Colorado. I was 7, and Dad and I came up from Arizona to build fence around that property. And we spent about a month or so that summer building all that fence. We camped in a horse trailer with a little camp kitchen and 2 beds on cots and all the tools and equipment, ice chests. And that horse trailer, he sold it years later, but the owner of that horse trailer still lives out off of 172. And every time I drive by, I look out there and I see that horse trailer and remember that summer. One afternoon, we found a rattlesnake in the trailer. Dad used his shovel and taught me how to take care of a rattlesnake. But that summer is also when I learned how to drive his truck by myself and stretch out wire. He taught me so much, and I'm so thankful for that. Without him, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So many fond memories, amazing stories, and good throughout Dad's life. Dad loved his family so much. He loved you, Mom, so much, and you were so good to him. The amount of support that you and Dad gave each other through good and through bad is immeasurable. He loved all of his kids so much. He loved his grandkids and would always talk about the latest visit he had with any of his grandkids with so much pride and joy. He loved collecting things.
He had so many collections. He loved fishing, his cows, farming. He loved his antique wood-fired cook stove in their kitchen. He used every day in the colder months. He loved cooking potatoes, corned beef hash, beans. He loved plain bean enchiladas, and Hannah's right, they had to be pinto beans. We did not eat a black bean growing up at all. We didn't even know they existed until later. I don't think anybody could have paid him enough money to eat a black bean. He was extremely talented and highly intelligent. He was an amazing artist and a blacksmith. He once was a Baptist who lived in a teepee, but he mastered biblical Hebrew in a very short period of time, became a rabbi, and loved Israel. He would always talk about the good old days, and I think he was born about 100 years too late. Dad's life isn't defined by what he chose at the end. His life is defined by everything good in between, by all of us here today, all of the incredible stories and memories. And again, with suicide, all of us as survivors are left wondering why. We wish so badly that a different decision would have been made. But it was his decision and his decision alone. And I don't believe this is anybody else's fault. I can't judge what he was feeling or thinking at the end, but I will continue to fight against this because suicide is wrong. It's not right. It's not normal. And suicide doesn't end pain. It only lays that pain on the broken shoulders of the survivors. From Sam's death till now has been an extremely difficult time for me and my entire family. Dad struggled with mental illness and battled suicidal ideation and depression for decades. We tried so hard to prevent this. And we recently learned some horrible truths. We learned Dad suffered from unhealed childhood trauma. We also learned that he caused some trauma and pain for other people. And I won't tell their stories because it's not my story to tell. Some of you know, and for those who don't, that's okay. It's not the place or the time. But what I want to talk about is the acceptance of truth, the love and the forgiveness that I've witnessed from these other people. These other people forgave and loved Dad. Dad talked about it at Sam's funeral. Sam forgave and loved Dad. I know it's possible to accept the truth and continue moving forward with love and forgiveness and not holding on to hate and anger for another human being, one of God's beautiful creations. We hate the act, but we love the person. I know forgiveness and love look different sometimes from person to person. That's okay. Ephesians 4:32. Be kind and tenderhearted to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ God forgave you. With this in mind, we can be good stewards of the grace that has forgiven us. I wish I could tell him there is hope through all this. If we need help, please reach out. If we see someone that needs help, please reach out. There is hope, and there is a way through this. Some burdens are too heavy to bear alone, and no one should have to bear these things alone or in silence. I love you, Dad, and I will miss you.
Thank you, Max. And now finally, Miss Vicki Howard.
Last time I did this, my honey was right here. Baruch haba Hashem, blessed are those who come in the name of the Lord. A lot of good people here. Jay and I met, it might be a repeat, but we didn't collaborate. Jay and I met in the fall of '84. I was so proud of this blonde-haired, blue-eyed cowboy that I found. And many of you have heard this, but I told my mom all about him and asked her if I could keep him. And she just smiled. 6 months later, we were married. It was after the wedding and honeymoon that I began to learn the life of this cowboy, this beautiful, caring, gorgeous tan, but very rough around the edges cowboy. He wasn't a drugstore cowboy, those that wear the hats and the fancy boots and the creased Wranglers, but don't have cows. He was the real thing, riding of 66,000 acres, the living alone with no electricity, cell service, or sometimes even people, trapping coyotes for cash, surviving floods, building water gaps, roping, branding, and banding, sometimes over 300 calves, and gathering the cattle as the rain soaked through his clothes. Riding until the hairs on the inside of his legs, true, were gone. He had no hair. Running through thickets of thorns for that one crazy cow. In 2025, Jay took me down the steep switchback road from Hannigan's Meadow down to Morenci, and there was all that land. There's a picture of it out there. I understood, after 40 years of marriage, I really finally understood the complexity of Jay. When we met in '84, he had just left his dad, who was going to retire. Jay told him that he needed a change and he needed to find a wife. He found one. We built a life together, starting our adventure in Phoenix. He was a framer, a master framer, and then became a contractor. Our firstborn, our Max, blessed us so in the spring of '87. Summers are brutal in Phoenix, and one afternoon he came home from framing, and as I hosed him off, steam came off his body. That's when we decided to move to Flagstaff. 2 more babies were born, our Hannah and our Sophie. Jay continued to carpenter, building gas stations and huge churches. We bought an old barn, which we turned into a house. It was perfect. From scratch, he built a mini storage, which we later sold to buy our property in Bayfield. He had taken Max camping as a 4-year-old, and they came across some red Angus. Jay told Max they were going to have cows again someday. God led him to our property that we own on New Year's Day in 1994 in a snowstorm. The summer of '94, we moved to Bayfield with 3 children, 10 goats, 25 hens, a couple of roosters, 4 dogs, 4 cars, a parakeet, 3 cats, many trailers, and a few personal items. We lived in a teepee from June '94 till January '95. My mom was not impressed. In November of '94, we were set to pour 11 yards of concrete for the foundation. It was just Jay and myself. It was super cold. I put 3 children, Max 7, Hannah 5, Sophie 3, in our Suburban with Oreos and milk, and told them to stay put. The man who brought the concrete was Richard Westbrook. Some of you might know him. He must have felt sorry for us and jumped out to help. I remember thinking, what have I gotten myself into? We moved into our house in January '95, a rough shell in the middle of a cold winter. He could build, fix, make anything. One day I come home and he had 2 logs suspended from the ceiling. I asked him what he was doing, and he told me he was going to build a suspended loft. Many of you have seen it. He started his own herd here in Bayfield, one time having about 50 mother cows. His dad, Ray, came to visit and was so proud of what he had done because we had water. He registered his dad's brand, adding a 3rd member here in Colorado. He taught his children to watch the cows, to brand, to vaccinate, and to band. He loved his cows and always had a pet, and there's still one on the property. When we moved from the teepee to the house, we had no running water, no electricity, no stairs, and a barrel wood stove. But it was a beautiful house. One night after the children went to bed, we were studying the 10 Commandments by hurricane lamps. When we looked at each other and sort of shouted, there's 10 commandments, meaning what happened to number 4? Who changed it? Thus, that was the beginning of our journey into the ways of God. He was so honest about the way he loved God and the Word. He was fierce with the Word, sometimes being a Torah terrorist. He couldn't understand the concept of not wanting to live and honor God that way. He was always trying to teach. He was always trying to learn. Like my children said, he was ordained a pastor, but when it was his dear friend, an Israeli, Moshe Ozrei, in 2013, who ordained him as a rabbi. He loved Yeshua, teaching Torah through the living word. Every morning, we pray as we sat at our kitchen table. He would make the best coffee and always in the cold months have the wood cook stove going. It was so warm and cozy for me. 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I decided I'm doing it all. And I asked him, "Are you okay with that?" And he told me, "Choose life." Whew. Then in 2019, I was here cleaning, and I had an artery dissection and had to be flown to Denver. And he laughed to this day that it was the first time he flew to Denver in the flight of life backwards in a storm with a gun. No, because you just got on the plane. So he thought that was pretty cool. So when we moved into this building, he and his children with others to help transformed a brewery restaurant into this beautiful synagogue. His love was his children, his grandchildren, who we would all nickname, his cows, his land, me, and his guns. But he had such love for Shimbi. He did funerals for loved ones, weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, Passover, Shavuot, Yom Kippurs, and mikvahs. He listened to people, he prayed, he anointed, he fixed mezuzahs, he visited ailing people in hospitals and sat with the elderly in their home. He was a good man, but he had a challenging life, living through trauma, which our generation never spoke about. His father died traumatically, as did his sister, and then his beloved Sammy. We lost a baby, Tara, who was buried on our place. There were challenging days and challenging people. Years ago, a man sent him an email telling him that he treated people like his cows. And I started to think, well, maybe that was true, because that's what he knew. Cows. Move them from pasture to pasture, take care of them, make sure they have grass and water and salt and hay, vaccinate them with 8-way, kill the varmints that might harm them, and if a cow jumps fence or if they're high-headed, cowboy term, sell them or eat them. So no nonsense, no therapy, no discussion, just do it, just survive and keep going. It was a strange and hard thing sometimes for him to experience challenging personalities because he dealt with cows. But he was steadfast, he never wavered, he never quit, even though I see that maybe some wanted him to throw in the towel, but he never did till March 26th. He stayed, he worked, he prayed, he fixed, he snowplowed here in blizzards. He came in 3 times a week. He climbed on the roof. He made sure the AC was on and off. He turned heaters on for us. He put chairs down. He grilled for people at our ranch. He studied, he learned, he taught, he let others teach. He honored others. He loved, he laughed, he cried. Never took a salary in 20 years. This was his Shimbi. And I want to thank the people of Shimbi who stayed through it all and supported him. It was a pretty good ride, and we're going to keep it going. We had a marriage of almost 41 years this April 27th. He loved Mexican food. It had to be Sonora style, and again, the black beans. That must be in our brain. He called them imposters. He made friends wherever he went. He would grumble sometimes about the functions that I would want to put on because I love parties, but he would enjoy them. He was the social butterfly. I was ready to go. He was the social butterfly. Every time I pulled up to the house, if he was home, he would come out to greet me, give me a hug, help me in packing stuff. He adored his children and just wanted them near him. He needed them. They were sort of his thoughts, telling him that everything is okay when they were near. They were his strength. He nicknamed each one of them when they were little. Max was Manny, Hannah was Musmungy, Sophie was Titsy Tyne, Sammy was Jiggers, and baby Ray, was no Ray. My kids, thank you for loving your dad. I know he was hard sometimes, but he 1000% adored you. He would brag all the time about you kids. I think everyone here knew about you guys. He baptized each child in our pond and sang a little song he wrote for them. I think Hannah put it on the video. It's called Abba. Max, he spoke so highly of you. He was so proud of you all the time. When we bought this place, he pieced out from Flagstaff, left me there with 2 little kids, a mini storage to sell, a house to pack up. He brought Max, his truck, his tools, bedrolls, and the horse trailer, and came here to our land to build fence. He taught Max to drive the truck as you unrolled the barbed wire. He was so proud of your art. You mastered it. Your flat picking, your career with the fire department. My sister Polly named you the gentle giant, and that's what you were to Daddy. When you were born at 11.5 pounds, oh man, he was so proud of you. He'd walk around the hospital with you. Hannah, the music, thank you for always continuing your music and asking Dad to play on that song. He was honored and it gave him such joy. When your goat Ashes had to be dehorned, you were so mad at him. He was so upset that you were so mad. And when she was hurt by the mountain lion, he was so sad for you. That was a confusing night because somebody told us that it was dogs. So down runs dogs. Clayton Wilson, I believe is his name. And Hannah's little Ashes was all tore up from the mountain lion. So my husband shot all Clayton's dogs. That cost us about $10,000. And then we found out it was a lion and her cubs. But he didn't want that Ashes hurt. Sophie, he started tea parties with you and rabbits. You had a black bunny you named Dubida. He was so proud of you and your 3 children, your spa, your facial oncology learning, and your ability to build. Sorry, Micah. He loved coming up to your new house and giving you ideas, and he was so happy you included him in all your ideas. He got such joy when he would see you come up our road with the doggies running. I think his favorite was Buddy. Sammy, you were his jiggers, our angel baby. Man, he would sit with you by the water. He loved you so much and was so honored to build the corrals with you. I see how much he missed you now and how much your death tore at his heart. Ray, you are our baby, our big 10.5-pound boy. As we traveled around the country playing music, he would often escape the busyness with you and take you back to the camper to play with T-Bone. He loved going up to visit you and go shopping with you, and afterwards going to In-N-Out and having a burger. You and Dad had a very special relationship. Don't ever forget that. Elia, Micah, Kyle, thank you for loving his children the way you do. Elia, he was so impressed with your ability to organize and the way you were working and getting that project going with the county. Micah, you two had a very special relationship with lots of laughter. And Kyle, the jerky, always the dear jerky, you will inherit that, what's it called, that dehydrator. Oh, he was always glad when he saw the Tacoma down at the barn. Jay needed a lot of love and couldn't understand confrontation or ghosting or no contact. He took everything personal, whether friends or foe. He was a complicated man, but when he loved with no fault, no hesitation, just deep love. Polly, he really loved you. He was so excited to go on that trip in the fall, which floored me because he stated he'd never go on a cruise, but he would with you. He respected you and Tom and always could crack up with you. Cody Ray, he adored you and often repeats some story of you two fishing. Did you have a pink little fishing pole or something? Red and black, okay. He just would always tell that little story. And Jesse, he really wanted to go back to Israel with you. Katie and Jay, he loved and respected you and your children. We all kind of grew up together. I don't know if Bill and Keith are watching or they're here, but Jay would tell me stories of his cousins Bill and Keith playing at Red Gap on this top of this little mountain with their Matchbox cars. Mark, Jay worked with and for your dad, and he loved your mom. He tried to take care of her. He told me a story of how she fell off a horse as a little girl and got hurt. He ran to her on his horse and jumped off to help. He loved his little sister, that little towhead girl, so much. And Mark, he was so honored and proud of you that you're keeping the legacy of Papa Ray going. Frank Stimmick, you guys shared a birthday together, and you were with Jay from the beginning of Shimby. Paul Eckenrode, you remain steadfast with Shimby, and thank you for always reading Jay's many, many verses. Jack, he loved sharing stories with Jack. Judy, you were his friend from years ago, and he loved you. And Aaron, I think he finally accepted you. You're okay. And he loved all the food. Rebecca, he loved your dances. Thank you. We have a neighbor, Ernie. I don't know if he's here. He was such a good neighbor. And Jay always panicked, though, when he saw Ernie getting ahead of him with the water. Wayne and Cindy, you knew my Jay. Thank you for always being there for him, no matter what. He loved going to your place and just talking, sharing beer. My husband's sudden death maybe wasn't so sudden. Maybe he was slowly dying. I'll never know. But something was said to me the other day when I was here cleaning. My friend Maggie said he was broken, maybe from a long time ago. And now we carry and heal that brokenness. Thank you for that, Maggie. Jay spoke at my brother-in-law's funeral, Uncle Tom, and as he closed the service, he looked out at the audience and ad-libbing, he stated that he saw a diamond, a multifaceted diamond, likening it to all the different people that were there. He was that diamond. He was my hero. He was my cowboy. He was my husband, the father of my children, the sweet papa of our precious grandchildren that he loves so much. Talia, Aria, Levi, Davian, Mira, Vea, Olive, Noah, Jackson, Liam, Toby, and the next one to come. He was your dad, he was your papa, he was your uncle, he was your brother-in-law, he was your father-in-law, your cousin, he was your friend, he was your rabbi. And he deeply, deeply loved all of us. Thank you for coming. Jay would have really liked this party and all his stuff out. Oh, may his memory be a blessing to all, and may God rest his soul.
Thank you, Miss Vicky. Now honored Jay's life through words and recollections, and we're now going to honor it visually through photos taken throughout his life. Invite Jesse up to the bima to say the mourner's Kaddish.
My name is Jesse. I'm the husband of Cody Ray, who is Jay and Vicky's niece, and the son-in-law of Polly, who is Vicky's sister-in-law. I'm going to read the mourner's Kaddish in Hebrew, as I read it a couple of months ago for my own dad in Israel, and then I'll follow with the English version. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה. בעלמא דברה כראותה וימליך מלכותי ויצמח פורקנה ויקריב משיחי. בחייכון וביומיכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם, ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלה, ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה, שירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. יש למה רבה, מן שמיה, חיים, סבב וישועה, ונחמה ושיזבה, ורפואה וגאולה, וסליחה וכפרה, ורווחה והצלה, לנו ולכל עמו ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא ברחמיו יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. I'll read it in English now. May the great name of God be exalted and sanctified throughout the world, which he has created according to his will. May his kingship be established in your lifetime and in your days, and in the lifetime of the entire household of Israel, swiftly and in the near future, and say amen. May his great name be blessed forever and ever, blessed, praised, glorified, exalted, extolled, honored, elevated, and lauded be the name of the Holy One. Blessed is he, above and beyond any blessings and hymns, praises and consolations which are uttered in the world, and say amen. May there be abundant peace from heaven and life upon us and upon all Israel, and say amen. He who makes peace in his high holy places, may he bring peace upon us and upon Israel, and say amen. Thank you.
To close the service today, I'm going to ask you all to stand as I bless you with the Aaronic blessing, one that I and many people in this room were incredibly honored and blessed to receive from Jay throughout the years many times. So on Jay's behalf, I bless you with the blessing that the Lord told Moses to tell Aaron to bless the children of Israel with. Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmarecha Ya'er Adonai panev alecha vichuneka Yisa Adonai panev alecha ve'asem lecha shalom. Family, friends, congregation, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Thank you for all coming today and for being here and honoring the life of Jay Howard. Please feel free to stay and have lunch afterwards with us and share the joy that we have being remembering Jay.